Cravats. If you have not followed his Triple H horse racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.
Good evening and welcome to episode 351 of Picks and Ponies right here on the HHH Racing Podcast. I am your proud host, Howard Kravitz. Thank you for joining us tonight, and thank you for your patience. We do appreciate it. If you're watching this as a replay or listening as a replay, you're probably wondering, why did I say that? We use some wonderful software called StreamYard, but StreamYard had some issues nationally, and we had to delay our start by half an hour, but we are all good to go. Thank you very much for joining us. Let's get our preak on. Get your preak on. Get your preak on. It is Preakness time, ladies and gentlemen, and we are excited to talk about the late pick 5 that ends in the Preakness. Also, Hawthorne late pick 4 with Jim Miller this Saturday. Lots to talk about. Please make sure you hit that subscribe button on the bottom right-hand side of the screen. Smash that like button below the video player. And in the upper right-hand corner, please hit that notification bell so that you know when new content will arise. You can follow me on X right there at HKravitz. Scrolling to the bottom of the screen, hkravitzhorse@gmail.com. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. Power picks continue to be red hot. If you're not familiar with our tip sheet, look below the video player. It's the most inexpensive, profitable tip sheet around. It's only $4 every weekend. It's a monthly or a yearly subscription. Again, look below the video player, click show more, and you can find out about it in our description. We've got a great website as well, hhhracingpodcast.com. We're also on Instagram.com, Instagram.com/HHH Racing Podcast. And finally, our good friend Matt Miller has a new book, A Better Way of Thinking. Check it out at abetterwayofthinking.com. I've read it. It's amazing. Please look into buying it. It is well worth it. Again, abetterwayofthinking.com is where you would buy his book. All right, let me bring on my fantastic co-hosts who've been waiting patiently in the background. First, from the East Coast of Maryland, back from a little hiatus, Mr. Pete Visco, and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and the Saratoga Special, Mr. Paul Halloran. Guys, it is Preakness time. How are we doing tonight?
What's up, gents? Only a few minutes late. Not a big deal.
Yeah, nothing we could do about it. Pete, are we going to see now listen, I know no son of Pete Visco is going to be a wimpy kid, but are we going to see any video of Jackson, who I'm sure did a wonderful job in his first real live play / musical experience, right?
First big part, decent sized part. Yeah. Well, we have to pay for the video once it is ready. And once it is, I will clip his scene because he has a musical number that is fantastic. So
he
we
sings,
will.
Obviously.
Well, he's not a singer, but he had to sing. So, we straddle
all
the line.
Italians have a great operatic voice. No,
not all of us.
What are you talking about?
All right, well,
we use our other skills that we have. In singing isn't one of them. But yes, I will have a clip on the show when we get the video.
Awesome, guys. A few quick things, we'll get started. First of all, I want to wish luck to our good friends Matt Couture of Adelphi Racing Club. They're one of the sponsors. Fantastic person, fantastic racing club. If you want to look into purchasing horses at a reasonable rate, look into that. They've got a runner, guys, Saturday in race 4 in this skip at the number 1 Royal Poppy. Real nice filly, 5-1. Frankie Dettori takes them out for an Adelphi Racing Club horse. So good luck to Royal Poppy, the 1 horse in race 4 on Saturday, and Adelphi Racing. I also want to give a shout out to West Point Thoroughbreds, who, guys, I've tipped this out, but I haven't really talked in detail. I am now an official partner of West Point Thoroughbreds, who owned Flightline as well. I have a small piece of a very talented B Jersey 2-year-old filly that is going to be trained by the Clements and is already training in Saratoga, guys. Very precocious 2-year-old filly. I'm very excited about that. So welcome unofficially West Point Thoroughbreds to the HHH Racing Podcast. Guys, you might have them advertising as well. I got to talk to the big boss, Mr. Finley. And
great guy. He is a great guy.
West Point Thoroughbreds are amazing. They are fantastic. Happy to have another group that is associated with us, although we're not sure about the advertising part, but that's a whole other issue. Now, guys, before we get into our late pick 5, and again, huge viewership. Thanks for joining the show. Join the live chat. You guys know the drill at home. It's been live and active. We got to something we should have done last week, and that's a host fail. I got so excited talking about the Derby and everything. We had something called a Derby fantasy draft, and I'm struggling to remember who won that. I can't.
Pete, you got the graphic, Pete. Come on, Pete.
I mean, do you have it up, Howard? Because I mean, I have to look to see who won.
I seem to have it missing from my screen. There were technical difficulties at the beginning of the show.
It was so predictable. That's the thing, Pete.
I just can't remember who won, Paul, but it's probably two of the people that are on the show right now.
I mean, we're 1 to 9. What's the big deal?
You don't bring up the graphic, Pete. Yeah, so Pete and Paul won. Congratulations. I did change them to the Moorline favorites in Vegas after the picks and the draw. Congratulations, guys. A little surprise second place finish. The Japanese came through for Kyle and Pat, and they got second. Matt and I finished last. Anyway, well, that's
if anybody wants to look at the scores, go to our website, and on the Kentucky Derby page, the scores are there. So if you really want to check it out in detail, feel free.
Now, people don't want to do that. People just want to get on the show. So, guess what, guys? I got a spinner. We've got to decide who wins. Now, everyone on this
nice.
Everyone on this list picked you guys to win. Now, here's the deal. If you see, and as far as I know, this is correct. If there's a mistake, I apologize. But I think it was 19 people, guys, picked you correct live and below the video play after the fact. If there is not an asterisk, next to the name, they will win $50, Matt Miller's book, A Better Way of Thinking, and I'll point to the hat that's not, and an HHH Racing Podcast hat. If they have asterisks next to their name, they predicted this before the draw came out, guys, live on our show, and they will receive $100.
Nice.
A hat and the Matt Miller book. That's like a $200 value, guys.
But what was so hard about picking it before?
Well, I don't think it was that obvious. But anyway, here's what I'm going to do, guys. I'm going to pick 2 winners, one and an alternate, just in case. If those of you watching, listening, live, replay, whatever, if your name comes up, please email me if you win, hkravitzhorse@gmail.com, and I'll be in touch with you on how to get you all the merch and all the information. Again, below the video player is my email, hkravitzhorse@gmail.com. Let's go full screen, guys. Let's see who wins the fantasy. Oh, what happened? There's a comment, I'm sure.
Matt Miller's great.
Let's see.
Matt Miller says he should be up there because he picked us too.
He did. He knows how to gamble.
Let's see who wins the fantasy draft pool, guys. Here we go. Good luck to everyone.
Look at this technology. No wonder we couldn't get on the frickin' air, Pete.
Yeah, this is too much. Luke.
Oh, wait.
Let's see.
Wait.
Oh my God! Oh,
it went to Scheidrick. Wow, Riddick
with the asterisk.
Nose hair. That's a brutal loss for
Luke and Sierra Leone.
Shy Riddick. If you hear this, listen to this. I will try to find your name on below the chat, because I believe, guys, Shy Riddick was someone who put it in our live chat or below the video play. I'll find out. But Shy Riddick, if you're hearing this, listen to this, hkravitzhorse@gmail.com. Congratulations. We are going to pick, I'll tell you what, guys, should we just go with Luke Woolery? I mean, that's like right on the edge there. Should we let Luke be the alternate? What do you guys think?
Yeah, sure.
I think that's fair, right?
I think so.
I mean, it's right on the edge. I mean, that's brutal.
Matt said he'd give away a second book if we want to give one to each. He just put it in the chat.
All right. So, Luke Woolery, you are our alternate. If Shy Riddick does not get in touch with us, Luke Woolery will win the grand prize. But Luke Woolery, please contact us, hkravitzhorse@gmail.com, and Matt Miller will send you a book. How nice. Thanks, Matt. I appreciate that.
By the way,
all right, guys,
real
there
quick,
you go.
I just want to say,
exciting.
Paul, I thought we had a lot more smarter listeners and viewers. Apparently, we only have 19. The other ones are all a little slower than we thought.
Whoa. Don't knock on
I don't want to
viewers
call
now,
out
Pete.
some names, but I didn't see Katie on that list. I thought Katie was our buddy, but that's one.
No.
I don't want to name.
Pete, Pete, they're the ones who have to look in the mirror in the morning.
That's true. I feel sorry for them every day now. Apologies, everyone.
Oh, Matt was pretty harsh with his. Wow. Okay. Thanks, man. Using language in the chat. All right, guys. Let's get to the Was there anything else I want to talk about? No, that covers it.
No, let's get to the races.
Let's get to late pick 5, guys. Late pick 5. Here we go. Late pick 5. This is the second jewel of the Triple Crown. Let's just talk about it just for 5 seconds. W word. It's going to be light rain most of the day Saturday. It's supposed to clear out by 5. The race not till 7. In theory, the main track could dry up. I think the main track's mainly going to be wet. The turf they are running on tomorrow. Dave Rodman, great announcer, just confirmed on X that they are running on turf Friday for sure. Saturday, I think they'll run on the turf, guys. I mean, it's their biggest day. I'd be unless it's unsafe. I would have a hard time.
What are they saving it for?
Yeah, I mean, well, they've got other races, but all right, guys, let's go to the late pick 5 right now. Here we go. Late pick 5. It starts at 3:30 Eastern on Preakness Day, and it starts with the James W. Murphy. This is a 1-mile stake race for 3-year-olds on the turf. It's a field right now of 12. There is a very talented AE in Copper Tax who was rumored to go to the Preakness. They decided not to. I'm assuming he would go here if it does come off the turf. I'm not expecting it to come off the turf. It's a wide open field. The morning favorite is the number 4 Twirling Point for Jonathan Thomas and Frankie Dettori. Let me go ahead and bring up the picks for us right now on the screen. There they are. I'm going 12-1-7. Pete's going 4-9-10. Paul's going 10-12-4. You know it's wide open because I have 3 that Pete doesn't have at all, vice versa. Pete, let's go with you first. You're going with the favorite Twirling Point. What do you like about this one?
Yeah, this is a tough one. I mean, when we get to the pick 5s, I pretty much went with almost half, if not half or more than half the field in this one. But Twirling Point, I just kind of like 2 races in 2024. One on the turf, which we see 2 back, was a win at optional claimers. And then the last one just was way too far back and lost to Tricari, who wound up coming back to win the Grade 2 American Turf. I just like that maybe this horse at 3, and we know there's improvement from 2 to 3 with these horses. Maybe this horse just came back better. I like that. There's 2, they paired up the lifetime buyer tops in the first 2 races out. I think when maybe hopefully Dettori can get this horse a little bit closer. I don't think he wants to run like the last one and be second to last. I think this horse wants to be a little more tactical. And if he is, what we're looking at on the screen there should be some pace in front of him. And if there is, I think he can work out a perfect trip and then just roll by them.
Nothing wrong with losing to Tricari, who, of course, actually it's Trickery, guys. Believe it or not, I listen to Steve Bick almost every morning, and they had one of the owners on who said they wanted to be called Trickery. So anyway, it is Trickery. Trickery really threw a wrench in a lot of people's derby plans. Late pick 5 might included most people. This horse is live, Pete. I thought 4-1 was a little low, personally, in the morning line, but who knows? Maybe the horse will drift, has a big shot. Paul, you're going.
The horse was the favorite 4 times, so it just always seems to take some money.
Sure does. Very consistent for sure. Well deserved. Abrumar. Sorry, Irad Safi has speed, through a clunker in the American Turf. A lot of horses did. It was a fast pace. He was up close to it. Paul didn't like it. It's a projected fast pace again. So tell me how he's going to win. Just Irad?
Well, I think that race fell apart. Other than the horse on the lead, Formidable Man, I'm looking at the chart, but Trickery, and I thought you pronounced it blow up pick 5 tickets. I was pronouncing it wrong.
Yeah.
Trickery came from 5th. Laganos, who ran 3rd, came from 8th. The 4th place horse came from 9th. I just think the race fell apart, so I'm going to excuse Abrumar. This is a huge jockey upgrade. No disrespect to all those Paco fans out there. I know he runs Rexshot at Gulfstream, except when the other jockeys are in town, and he does great at Monmouth. But this is a huge jockey upgrade, period, to Irad Ortiz. I do think, I just think the race flow will be a little better for him. And I think, in contrast, I do like the 4 as well, the horse Pete picked. But, he was coming very late in that race, and as Pete said, just got a little too far behind. I think that may happen again. I just think that the race flow favors the 10, and I think the 10 at 5-1 would be a square deal here.
I think so. This is a pretty wide open race. I have to go with what I believe in, which is time form. And if time form is correct, guys, I want a closer. And if I want a closer, I want the number 12. I want a Fulminio here. Now, Fulminio or Fulminio.
Fulmineo.
Okay, Fulmineo.
Since we're working on our pronunciation tonight.
My bad. First of all, Maryland bred. Can't go wrong with that, but that has absolutely nothing to do with my pick whatsoever. The 1-for-8 is a little bit dicey, but some of those races were on dirt, guys. Number 1, number 2, the horse is improving. Number 3, blinkers are on. I like that. Number 4, Flavian Pratt, and number 5, there is the best closer on paper into a fast pace. I know, Paul, you like this horse obviously for second. Is stepping up, I suppose, in class. I don't think this is the strongest field we've seen. I hope the horse can handle a little bit of cut in the ground. We don't know, but
yes, we do. Well, Bolt Dioro progeny, Howard, win at 23% on wet turf.
Wow. Okay, I did not know that. Actually, I like that. Very good.
And ran okay in the Pilgrim on a good turf.
Right. Exactly.
So,
but had to avoid all the turkeys that were on the turf course though that day. For the
good one. We got it.
Wow, this is gonna be a long show, guys.
If only he could avoid the hosts.
I'm sorry, this whole half an hour delay thing's got me through.
Anyway,
it's a fun race, guys. I think you're gonna have to go deep in that leg for sure. I don't have a real strong opinion other than I do like Fulmineo. Is that right? Fulmineo?
No.
Fulmineo.
Okay, I do like Fulmineo in that spot.
By the way, I just want to shout out the 3 Massive. You're talking about pace. If it does collapse, I like the 3 Massive as sort of a maybe hit the board, maybe get a win, but hit the board at 20 morning line. I like that horse. And actually, Duke Matisse on one of the Into Money shows like that horse too. So that always
I heard it.
Good.
Yeah, this horse will be flying.
Okay, Massive.
Yeah. Right. And just if it does go race flow, where if it just falls apart, that horse will be coming late.
Okay, I listen. I got a whole ton of horses. I'm gonna write that down there. 3 ? Now I got more research to do. All right, let's go on to the next race, guys. I go to our equi race. Next race 10 of the late pick 5 on Saturday. This is the Sir Barton Stakes. This is a race that I always pay attention to because I always find some 3-year-olds in this race that are sort of up and comers, and I think we might have some here. $100,000, mile 16th. It's on the dirt. It's a field of 10. There's 3 pretty good horses here that are going to take the bulk of the money. The morning favorite here is the number 5, Corporate Power for Shug and Castellano, 9-5 on the morning line. You see our picks down the bottom of the screen. We are all going with 5, 8, and 10 in some iteration. How about that word, Paul? I'm going 8, 5, 10. Pete's going 10, 8, 5. And Paul's going 5, 10, 8.
That's pretty funny, though. None of us have even the same
Very
exacta.
interesting.
We don't even have the same exacta, right? No. That's funny.
Wow. We literally have exactly the 3 different.
Yeah, that's unbelievable.
Well, that's good, Pete. We can let people make their own decisions, right?
Yeah.
So, Paul, let's start with you. Corporate Power, the favorite, 9-5. Hit it.
Yeah, I really thought it boiled down to the 5 and 8 primarily. And I think, Coward, it's one of those classic races, especially in a sequence like this. I really think you're going to have an opinion, and the opinion can't be, I'm going to use all 3 of them. So my strategy will be to lean on the 5. I'll use the others as backups. I do think the 8 is formidable here, but I think the 5 is a little more formidable. I know Tuscan Sky took a ton of money in the wood. Didn't have a great trip, wasn't close. And if you throw that out, he's a 2-for-2 horse. But this Shug horse also is on the improve. Came out of the chute with back-to-back 84s, up to a 90. Ran in the slop last time. Maybe you liked it. You're going to take a look at it here. I'm pretty sure that this horse was loose on the lead. Yeah. And if I remember,
was in the Peter Pan, finished 3rd or 4th. I can't.
Yeah, and if I'm thinking of the right day, Howard. Actually, I wasn't paying that close attention to Aqueduct that day because on April 12th we were at Keeneland. But I think speed was okay that day, if I'm not mistaken. And that horse was loose. The one is moving. Not now the 5 Corporate Power. So again, obviously any one of the 3, but I think you got to narrow in a race like this, and I landed at 5.
Yeah, I think Corporate Power certainly has a shot. The positives for me, Paul, and I have him second, and actually Pete has him third, of course, as we just talked about. Positives for me are that this horse should improve. It's Shug. They always improve. Obviously, he can handle the slop if it comes up that way, by Curly. Obviously, can't go wrong there. To me, the negative, though, Paul, is he did get a perfect trip, and he seems a little one pace to me. He just seems sort of like a bloop,
Yep.
bloop, 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 kind of. I don't know. I don't see an acceleration. He also did switch back to his left lead. I don't know if you guys saw that in the last sort of 300-400 yards. He's got some things to work out. They do have blinkers on, which might be the reason for both of those things, but he's definitely a threat here.
I have a quick poo-poo stat for you on the favorite
poo-poo.
here. Would
Here
you
we
like
go.
to do on the
We
favorite?
missed the poo-poo last week.
I know. I no poo-poo in last week. We'll do it this week.
right.
Shug, 1 for 29 on the win end when he switches off Lasix in these non-graded stakes, listed stakes kind of races. So, and this horse has only run all 3 on Lasix. So it's always something to think about.
You always have your your ear to the sound of the Lasix issue. It's something that I don't pay attention to very much. I probably should, to be very honest. That is his first time off Lasix. So that's a big question mark. You think at some point we're not going to talk about that, though, right, guys? Just his horses ideally become more sound or used to not having medication, just like a human, Paul. You would hope this issue of they're not on Lasix anymore will not be a factor in a few years in the United States, right? I mean,
well, if I think only if it's eliminated, though. The way it is now, they don't have it at 2 and they don't have it in stakes races. That's pretty much the way it goes. But if they're still going to allow it in other races for older horses, we're still going to have horses coming off of it. So,
it's almost like it should be all or nothing, right, Paul? I mean, this on the fence doesn't really help anybody because, especially handicappers, especially the horses, really. But the handicappers aren't helped by the fact that you just don't know how they're going to run. Like a horse like that, you have no idea. And then he runs like crap, and you're like, oh, maybe the Lasix did it. Who the hell knows? So,
yes, we got big fans of poo-poo, indeed.
Love it.
Wow,
I'll have to get a team. We'll get some.
So.
That'll be on our next merch, maybe.
You can work on the logo for that one.
Yeah, we'll do something nice. We'll do something nice.
Imperial Gun Pete. This is not a poo-poo. This is your top choice.
Yeah, I hated this race. I didn't like. I had Knox against the top 3 choices, but I didn't like any of the other horses in the race. So I landed on this one. I thought the last race was fine. The 1-2 back in the Arkansas Derby was just a complete clunker, was sort of bothered, didn't seem like, broke terrible, was in dead last. So I'm just tossing that one. The last one was a little better. Again, was stuck in some traffic. Rosario will do that to a horse every once in a while. But I did like the way this horse ran. I think there's some late kick here. Steve Asmussen, he's 5 for 12 wins and 11 for 12 in the money in sort of listed stakes on dirt in the past month. So he's on fire sort of at this level. I mean, he has a ton of horses, so he does that. But I think this one, if you toss the Arkansas Derby, I think his form is improving in 2024. He's getting a little bit better, and I like the trip that hopefully Rosario can work out without maybe getting this horse not in trouble for once.
And he showed more tactical speed last time, and he might need to do
that.
The
problem is this, what you're showing on the screen.
Well, if he's in this place, he's got no chance, Pete.
Yeah, and if the 8 sort of just gets loose, which obviously you're going to talk about the 8 in a second since it's your horse, anytime you get a quality horse that can get loose without any pressure, it causes trouble for anybody who's trying to come from off the pace.
No doubt. Guys, I have Tuscan Sky as one of my plays of the day. Not my play of the day, but one of them. I think this horse is very talented, guys. And I believe that I liked him in the Wood Memorial, and it just nothing worked out for this horse. I'll just show the start. He's gray. He was 3-1, less than 3-1 in this race. I liked him a lot. I was wrong, but he had excuses, guys, in a lot of ways. Let me fast forward to the start here. Let's see if we can get to it. Sorry, they had a little bit delay here. All right, here we go. He's a 9. He's in gray. He didn't start. You see, he started a step slow. And then he had to like rush. You can see the hands. He's rushed up, and then the jock realized, okay, I can't rush up because I have to get checked. So then he decided to take back. But you can sort of see he's climbing. You can see he's like climbing, guys. I don't think he liked the kickback. It's a little bit hard to tell, but there he just sort of take back again. You see how he's just not very comfortable. And then later in the race, I'll show later in the race here, he had to come this is actually, there was an incident in the stretch that he jump cut it. Now he's right here, and he did make a little bit of a move in between horses, but then he got into another weird spot. The whole race just didn't work out. He didn't run well at all. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say anything otherwise, but you see right about there, guys, he had to sort of veer out because the 4, and now he's sitting behind horses again, and then there was an issue in the stretch that we're not gonna be able to see. But anyway, guys, the whole thing just didn't work it out at all. And I think on Saturday it's gonna be a completely different scenario. If we can go back to there we go. I think Saturday's gonna be a different scenario, guys. He's got blinkers on. He ran very well in his first 2 starts. In fact, guys, I thought if he ran in the Derby, I thought he was like an outside shot to get like in the top 4. I like this horse a lot. We're gonna find out. He's been working.
He has the
well,
Lasix
blah,
too.
blah,
He has the
blah.
Lasix thing too, which someone mentioned in the chat.
Yeah,
which again,
I don't think the last
know.
race it was still Lasix. I just have a hard time believing that, but maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You don't know. Again, that's the thing. It
We don't know.
sucks because you dropped that much from a buyer and just didn't really look comfortable and didn't run. That's what just worries you because you're like, if that's the problem, then you're wasting money at 5-2. But if it wasn't that, he's clearly super talented. So who the hell knows?
Yeah.
That's what bugs you.
Size was on him 2 back. I'm not saying Franco can't get a horse out of the gate, but I do like the fact that Sai is Paul. I think you mentioned on the show many times how good he is out of the gate and how aggressive
The best.
he is. So,
except on Dornoch in the Derby. Other than that, tremendous. The balls.
Yeah, I like him quite a bit, guys. Let's go on to the next race. It's a 3-horse race, and I think Paul and I like the 5 and 8 by far the most. Pete likes the 10. Listen, go with what you think, guys. We'll see who's correct. I'm assuming it'll be one of those 3 on Saturday. Race 11, turf sprint. Oh boy, here we go. And not only is it a turf sprint, it might be a little bit a soft turf. So this is a big field, guys. It's the Jim McKay. And as the professional journalist, Paul, of the group, I'll let you mention who Jim McKay is for people that don't know here in a second, because I was always a huge fan of Jim McKay. This is the turf sprint named after him, $100,000 purse, 5 furlongs on the turf, massive field of 12. Moorline favors a horse we've seen many times before, guys. The number 12, Beer Can Man, for D'Amato and Pratt. Here's our picks on the bottom of the screen. We all like outside horses. I'm going 10, 11, 12. Pete is going 11, 1, 12. And Paul is going 12, 11, 9. Paul, I'm going to have you go first. First, tell everyone who Jim McKay is for people that don't know.
Jim McKay was a great sportscaster on ABC. If you go out and Google Wide World of Sports, it was a Saturday afternoon show every week. They had multiple different segments, different sports. They had the famous open to the show, the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat when they show the skier going ass over tea kettle 72 times. And he was a great horseman, too. He was great for Maryland racing. He broadcast horse races. And he's really, he's been gone a long time, but really in the pantheon of sportscasters, one of the best there ever was.
Well, big fan of Maryland racing. I think he was from Maryland originally. So everyone under 30 is like, Wild World of what? That was my favorite show, Pete. That was my favorite
awesome.
show on
Look
Saturday.
it up. It was awesome. I mean,
I really liked when they showed the Harlem Globetrotters.
Oh, it was a great show.
Saturday afternoons, right? All right. Anyway, we
digress. Battle of the Network Stars too. You get on.
Classic!
That was
man.
Classic.
That was the move. Oh, they like the ridiculous events they would do.
Yeah,
good stuff. Okay, the 12 Beer Can Man. Paul, you're going to stick with this horse. I don't know what to make of him. I've got him third. He's got plenty of back numbers.
Looks like a pretty confident one, huh, Paul? A little confident.
He's 6.
Well, the thing is, Pete, the reason I like the pick is he really had a brutal trip last time, in my opinion. He was off the layoff, and I just think he had a terrible trip. the thing I don't like is this is the type of race where you're really supposed to try to beat the favorite if he is the favorite. He's the morning line favorite. I think it's pretty hard to predict what's going to happen on the board in this race. I have written at the top of my PEP spread, and you'll see in my pick 5 ticket I just did just that. So again, it's Pratt. He's the I think
4.
he's the
Did he get
4.
pitched back at some point? I'm trying to remember what happened to him. I don't recall.
Yeah, I want to say there was some trouble before then. I'm trying to remember. I did go.
Right.
I watched it back and I wrote down brutal trip last, so I assume that means he had some trouble.
Right.
Outside post favorite turf sprint. You're probably supposed to try to beat him. This is a race I'll be spreading in the multis. I can't imagine playing anyone to win. It's the type of race unless you have a strong feeling underneath and maybe do like a reverse tri-key, Howard, I don't know that I want to get involved too heavily in the race individually. And as I say, I'll be using a lot in my multis. I do, though. Well, you guys can talk. I do have a good price play in the race. I think I picked him third. This 9 is dangerous in this race. If he can clear, this horse is fast. I saw this horse win the Turf Monster almost 2 years ago now at Parks. It was the first graded stakes win for both the trainer and jockey. It's the same jockey, Andy Hernandez. These are Parks connections, and didn't go well at Gulfstream. I see that, but won at Laurel last time. And if this horse somehow is able to clear all this speed, he might be a tough customer at a price.
That's right. I've got him as a C. I wouldn't listen. Speed. I never demote speed too often in a 5 furlong turf race. And you know what, Paul? I didn't see like a ton of it here, right? I didn't see like any really high quality early speed. So I think that's a very interesting horse. That's right, to perhaps upset the field. Beer Can Man, we'll see. I do think it's a positive, Pete. As you have Beer Can Man third, I have Beer Can Man third. It's a positive that D'Amato's going on with them. Like they're not, there's no layoff again. There's no issues, and they're putting him in a big spot here. I don't know about the softer turf. I just don't know if he's the same, but we're going to find out. Flavian
D'Amato's been cold too. D'Amato's been cold outside of California.
Cold as a witch's tit, Pete.
Yeah.
Pete, you have an intelligent pick here with witty.
I am quite the witty human being, aren't I? Yeah, well, this is where I hope that we do get some of that pace that you were talking about, because this is a weird one. Yeah, this is a turf sprint where there's speed, but there's not super fast speed. So you don't know who's going to go. And you kind of, I don't know if you want to show the time form
US.
It's funny because
that's not it. Yeah, but it's a neutral when you don't see fast or slow.
You have horses that are up there that want the lead, but maybe not. It's just not predicting something super fast. I hope that's not the case for Witty. Witty does just the one thing you like. I mean, this horse, since he's moved to Elizabeth Merriman, just been in fantastic form. I mean, you see 4 out of 5 wins. The last 2, well, I should say the last one was a nice closing kick, beating Charging. So, and that was the first race of 2024, off about a 4.5 month layoff, whatever it turns out to be. So you may be second off, picks up Gaffleone, who rode this horse before back in 2023. So should have some familiarity, has a win over the Pimlico. 5 for 5 in the top 2, going 5 or 5.5 at this sort of shorter distance. There's a lot to like, but again, it's probably just going to be far back. So we're going to need some sort of pace up front to get this one coming late.
Agreed. Honest, Tyler G. 15 for 21, first or second, guys. For a turf sprinter, that's impressive.
It's pretty good.
Classes up. That's my only issue. I'm not sure that he classes up, but I like what I saw last time, Pete. I agree. I have this horse second. I think it's the most likely winner if a closer wins. Guys, I like the 10 here, and Matt, I'm not going to say what you want me to say, Matt Miller. It's not the IRAD thing. I just think this horse is on the improve. This is only a 4-year-old. And you know what, Paul? I seem to be wrong with Morley horses on the turf, especially. Whenever I'm against them, they win. I think he's a very good trainer, especially on the turf, especially with some of these horses that are a bit like underrated. He's very good, guys. Tom Morley, and that last race was not a fluke. I thought it was good. He did lose to Whitty, but I thought his trip was a little bit more difficult. I liked the third start of the form cycle, and I also like he does have more tactical speed than some of the others. It doesn't look like he has to be on the lead. So there's a lot of things to like. He's working well. Again, I'm not really sure about the wetter turf. He ran on a very yielding turf in 23 and was horrible. I don't know what that means really now, though. I just like the fact that he's tactical and Irad's got some options and they're owned by Forget About It stables. I mean, how do you go wrong with Charging and that stable name? Paul. Paul's going to poo-poo me, Pete.
No, not at all. No, I just have something to add on Whitty when you're done.
Oh, go ahead. I'm done.
People might look at the PPs and see, geez, Elizabeth Merriman, 1 start at the meet, only 12 starts in 2024. Relax, folks. Elizabeth Merriman, bred, trained, Caravel, 2022 Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint Champ.
There it is.
Before she went to Brad Cox. Before the horse went to Brad Cox. McLean Hendricks is her son, Pete.
Okay.
And so don't, if you were going to be deterred by a Pennsylvania trainer that you may not have heard of, she can flat out train a racehorse. So do not worry about it.
Just back to Charging quick, Cat. The only thing that scared me about that one, because I think I have one, is like my 4th horse, was all the wins came on the front end, and you just don't know. Like you said, you don't know who's going to get the lead in this one, and if it's going to be a clean one. So that was my only concern. But I think I went 5-6 deep or something when we get to our pick 5. So I was all over the place.
You know what's weird? Also, we're gonna move on, guys. Is we have I don't like taking far outside horses in 5 furlong turf sprints. I don't mind mid pack, but that means they have to break, and we've all got like outside horses basically, except you have the one Pete in second, which we didn't talk about, but. It's interesting. We all have outside horses. It just seems like that's where the logical ones land. Let's go to the next race, guys. I'm a little bit hungry. I think it's time for a little dinner party. What do you think? The Dinner Party Stakes, Grade 3. This is the penultimate leg of the pick 5. This is a strong race, guys. This is a doozy. $500,000, mile and eighth on the turf. This is a field of 12 and a good one. The morning line favorite is the number 10, Emmanuel. A bit of a mercurial type of horse, a little bit hard to trust. Let me take the banners off the screen. He's talented. Sometimes he fires, sometimes he doesn't. Let's see who we are going with in this race. I wanted to edit this and make this a scroll. Let's do that. Okay, there we go. I'm going 5-9-12. Pete's going 10-9-5, and Paul's going 1-5-9. Very, very interesting. Paul going a little bit out of the box. I think we'll go to Pete first, though. Pete, you have Emmanuel, and I don't know what to make of this horse. I'm sure you're going to make a very good case for him. This is Pletcher, Irad, is the 5-2 morning line. This is basically an extension of the turf race on Derby Day was $1 million. So these are horses I think we'd all agree are like maybe the next level down a little bit, but still very talented. What do you like about Emmanuel on Saturday, Pete?
Honestly, the biggest thing, and this is my top play of the day, although his last couple races on wet tracks weren't that great, but there's an excuse maybe. The thing I love about Emmanuel, and I love this horse 2-back as well, when he gets to the grade 3 level, he wins. It's as simple as that. And I'm not going to overcomplicate it. It's just that when he bounces from grade, or he doesn't always win. Obviously, you can see there's a 3rd on the screen, but it was in this race, which is the only fear because that was going 1 1/8 miles. And I don't know if this is just a little long for him. But at this level, he just seems to be better. And like you said, when he goes up to the grade 1 level, which he does, he bounces between, he's outclassed and he tends to lose. He doesn't run terrible, but he loses. So to me, he just needs to punch his weight, and I think he's punching his weight against this field. He's got Irad and Pletcher. The Irad-Pletcher combo, 36% wins, 72% in the money in grade 3 races on turf, which is ridiculous. But I just think this horse fits here. Like these are his friends. These are the ones he can beat. So I like him when he drops back down. So I like him a lot here.
It absolutely makes sense. I hear you. Here's the pace projector. He figures
And
it's
he's
a real
tactical
nice
too.
trip.
So yeah, I like that
Yep.
trip too. Yeah.
Off the 8 and 12, if that's how it lands.
Watch the weather, Pete.
Yeah, the weather.
You
But
watch
again,
no part of off turf.
Well,
None.
the funny thing is, though, Paul, those last two were on the off. Were also at the grade 1 level. So I don't know if it's the grade 1 that got him beat, or if it was the wet track that got him beat. It's hard to. It's again, that's one of those that it's hard to know. But if he runs poorly here, then I don't know. But I don't love the field. But I think I singled him in our pick 5, and not to spoil it, but I really like this horse if all goes well.
I hear you, Pete. I'm against him, but I get it. This is definitely the level he wants. I do agree, though, with Paul that I have a feeling some of those efforts were more about the softer turf than the grade 1s, because he's running some grade 1s and run like, let's see, is there a grade 1 on firm?
No, he's run. Yeah, he's run terrible.
Well, the Maker's Mark Mile. That was a weird race, if you guys remember. I'm just looking. Well, I didn't. I don't know.
I mean, that last race. I mean, you lose to he goes 5th by 7, but he was on the lead and he loses to Master of the Seas, Naval Power, Integration. I mean, those horses are just they'd all be 4 to 5 in this race, if not lower than that. So it's tough to know. But that's where I land.
We're gonna find out. Paul, this race is tricky. Highland Chief is another horse like Emmanuel. I just didn't know what to do with. I could be completely wrong. Pete might be exactly right. You might be exactly right. I don't have the 1 or 10 in my top 3. Highland Chief is an overachiever. Graham Motion's done a real nice job with this horse. Got really good last year in longer distances. Is cutting back. That last race was off a very long layoff against Silver Knot, who's absolutely on fire right now. Congrats to Noah Maher for pointing out Silver Knot 2 times in a row. You're going with Highland Chief, though, in this race.
Yeah, you know what? I think if you watch that race, Howard, this horse was very keen. He really wanted to go. Johnny V had to really struggle to, and arguably maybe struggle a little too much. I mean, he was keen from the beginning, keen down the backstretch. And, you know, sometimes when you do that to a horse, now when you want him to go, they say, well, screw you. I wanted to run the last 5 furlongs and you didn't let me. Graham Motion gears up for this weekend. He's a Maryland guy. He trains out of Fair Hill, about an hour away. I think this horse is going to be a big price with going from Johnny V to Ruiz. Ruiz does ride regularly for Graham. And I just think I think Ruiz will be aggressive with this horse. He'll have a good trip from the rail, and I am going to take a swing for the fence with this guy.
I like it. I'm not going to bring up a comment from Jim Pilars, but he's misbehaving again, guys.
I saw it.
Someone needs to give Jim Pilars a timeout. I like the horse. I don't like the spot. Again, I could be completely wrong, and you make excellent points, Paul. We'll have to see. I like Running B, guys, and I think this is another sort of up-and-comer. I know he's already 5, but he's only at 9 lifetime starts. And what I really like is 2 things. Number 1, he's tactical. I think he can sit off Emmanuel, Pete, if Emmanuel goes.
Yep.
And I really like this replay. Now, people might say, Howard, you got a perfect trip. Okay, he did get a good trip on the inside. He's the 3. But this was a slower pace, guys. And I just really like his acceleration. I like the way he does it. Everyone knows that I'm a big visual guy. And yes, he does get a good trip. But, you know, this horse on the lead had a slow pace, and right here it sort of looks like he's getting away from him, and Running B came after him. Like, he's got 2 lengths to make up. It takes him a little bit of while to get going, and then the force sort of angled out and forced Running B even wider here. I just like the fight here from Running B, and it looks like right now he's just starting to get going. So I think the 1 1/8 is going to be perfect for him. I think Chad spots his horses obviously as well as about anyone in the game. And I like Running B in this spot as, I won't say the fresh face, but sort of the one that can improve. While you have horses like maybe Highland Chief and Adhamo and Emmanuel, and you sort of know what those horses are, guys. I'm not sure we know what Running B is. I also have Beatbox. We're going to move on. Beatbox is the 9. Pete, I think you liked Beatbox in the fairgrounds earlier this year when he won, if I'm correct. Is that right?
Yep. Yeah, I did.
Yeah,
and it was funny because he was a second-itis kind of horse, so he was hard to trust until that one. But he he'll be closing late, and he'll probably need a little bit of pace up front.
Right. That was my only concern. I'm not going to sleep on Fantastic again, guys. I don't know if the source is better on Poly, but he's in really good form right now. And he's running fast and he's tactical. And Johnny V rides. I know Wesley Ward is not like a mile and an eighth kind of turf guy, but this horse is too good right now to ignore. And again, only a 4-year-old. I want to take younger, progressive types that are moving forward, guys. Yep. So I'm going to use Fantastic again also.
I had Ward at 0 for 15 in graded stakes turf routes, but the post is what scared me with that one. Yeah, the post a little bit because that horse needs to be a little closer, but the form is fantastic.
Matt Miller does have a question. You guys want to read it while I do a few things on the screen?
For those of us playing contests or full day card, any key plays before the pick 5, fine to cover in power picks rather than here if you're not ready to answer.
That's basically saying, Matt, he's saying, Howard, give me a play for a double in the contest so I can whip your ass.
Can someone send Matt Miller $4, please? Someone, please, in the chat, donate $4 to Matt Miller so he can afford the power picks.
Yeah, he needs the help. Guys, I like
money's not coming in yet, Paul.
I like Tuscan Sky early in the card. I really do. I know you guys don't have him on top, but that's who I like. Any quick thoughts? And then we'll go on to the Preakness.
I think, you know what I said, Howard? I think you got to pick one of them in that race, and he's certainly as logical as anyone. You know, I went with the other one, but I think that would be a race to narrow down for sure.
Let's go on, guys. Here we go. The 149th running of the second leg of the Triple Crown. It is the Preakness Stakes. Fun race every year. Major defection here. Let me refresh. As we all know, actually, it still has it on the screen there for some reason. But the 4, obviously, Muth is not running. It's going to be at about 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So people on the East Coast will be watching this race over dinner. After the dinner party, of course, stakes. It's $2 million, a mile and 3/16. Field of 8. Again, of course, Muth is out. Field of 8. The Moorline favorite was Muth. It's going to be Mystic Dan. I'm going to just say 9-5. I'll just say 9-5, just to throw a number out there. You would assume Mystic Dan is going to be the post-time favorite. Would it shock me if he wasn't? No, but I would be pretty darn surprised. Again, who knows what the track condition is going to be at that point of the day. It is supposed to improve in the late afternoon, early evening. We will see. Let's go with our picks right now, guys. On the screen, here they come. I am going 8-5-3. Pete's going 3-5-8, and Paul's going 8-9-5. Let's go through this field, and I'm going to quickly go through every horse because obviously we don't spend nearly as much time on this race as we do the Kentucky Derby. So I will be brief. And Jim Miller, I see you're in the background. If you want to be part of our Preakness chat, you're more than welcome. Give us a thumbs up. Otherwise, we'll put you on a little bit later. But very quickly, let me go through the field. You got Mugatu, who is a closer, looks overmatched. Uncle Heavy, who, by the way, has run very well on wet ground, is 3 for 5. Pennsylvania bred with IRAD. Catching Freedom. Run 2 good races, a solid 4th in the Derby. Again, ignore the morning line. He will be a factor, especially if the pace heats up. Muth is scratch. Mystic Dan, what are you going to say? The Derby champ ran big in the Derby. Of course, saving ground, masterful ride by Brian Hernandez. Seize the Gray, upset the Pate Mile for Lucas, should be showing speed. The other Lucas, Just Steel, who will be somewhere around probably 12-1. Total clunker in the Derby, has a race 2 back that absolutely fits. Tuscan Gold, a fresh race for Chad and Tyler. Where have you heard that before in this race? He's done it before with cloud computing and early voting recently. And then Imagination, the only Baffert horse now in the race who should have the lead. I think that pretty much sums up the field pretty well. Pete, we're going to go to you first. You're going to stick with your boy, Catching Freedom. I'm a little surprised he's in this race, to be honest, but he's been feeling good in the morning, apparently. He's going to be probably somewhere around 4-1. Will he get enough pace? Can he replicate his 97? And if he does, is that good enough?
Yeah, well, he paired up by our tops, as our buddy Matt Bernier likes to say. That's usually maybe a lead into a forward move. The thing, I mean, obviously we know I love this horse. That was my top pick in the Derby. The one thing, and I've listened to tons of Derby chatter after the race, is I don't think Catching Freedom's trip has been talked about enough. His trip was crap for the most part. I know it looked okay because he was on the rail and people said he was following Mystic Dan. He really wasn't. He broke actually well, and I think if he's going to break better here, I think he's going to surprise some people, and he's going to be closer than people think. He actually broke well in the Derby, but then he got pinched, and he took back really badly early, and just lost a bunch of ground, and he was about 6 or so lengths behind Mystic Dan, and then when he made the similar move that Mystic Dan made up the rail, Mystic Dan got bumped a little bit, but he got through and had much clearer run and had the lead early. Catching Freedom got knocked off his spot late, so it slowed him down. And he's not a horse that really loves the inside from all accounts either. So a lot of things went against him, and he still finished a nice closing fourth. I think you're just going to catch him. I think he's just better than all these horses, and he's going to show it on Saturday, and he's just going to beat him. And hopefully he's just not too far back, and a horse like Imagination gets away, slows the pace down, and it compromises him. But I think he's going to be a little closer, and I think we're going to see the horse we probably should have saw in the Derby.
My big question, Pete, is he in this race just because it's a little bit of a weaker spot and they just think he can win with his A-B+ effort? Or do they really think he's feeling great and is ready to rock and roll? This is a little bit unusual, a Brad Cox move to me. I thought he'd be better suited to the Belmont. So I obviously have a ton of respect for the guy, and he knows this horse better than any of us, but we see it all the time, right, Pete and Paul? These trainers say, "Oh, the horse is feeling good out of the Derby. They're feeling fresh." Who the F knows what's going to happen on race?
Yeah, that's code for the owner wants to run.
That's sort of how I felt, Paul. You want to expand on that, Paul?
Well, I mean, look at the Derby. Okay, after the Michael McCarthy's horse won the Derby prep at Turfway, they said, "Where is he going next to the Derby?" He said, "No, we're going to the American Turf." And then a week later, the owner said, "We're not ruling out the Derby." Well, guess who's going to win that 1-1 tie? Oddly enough, Endlessly, I think there was some late buzz on him. I think he took some money. I mean, the trainer wants to run on turf, and you're running in a 20-horse Kentucky Derby, and people are playing them. Good luck. But I don't know. I mean, I agree with you, Howard. It's not really a Cox move, but Cox is obviously still a guy who isn't going to run the horse if he's not ready. I think it's more a reflection on the field. I think Mystic Dan ran a great race. I'm rooting for him to win this race because as crazy as it's going to be at Saratoga, wouldn't I love to see a Triple Crown on the line at Saratoga? I mean, I don't care who I bet. I won't be betting him, but I will be rooting for him to win the race. But I don't think anyone's afraid of him. And I think the short coming back, being willing to come back off what, as Pete describes, as a good effort, I think that's probably more the case that, who are you afraid of in this race? And that's even when Muth was in it. I know he's the fastest horse of all time, but, who knows what Muth was going to do at a mile and a 3/16, 2 races removed from 7 furlongs. So I think that's what Brad's doing here. I think the horse is training well. He ran well. And he figures, why not take a shot in this race? There's a better chance he wins this race than the Belmont.
You mean now that he's running in this race, or if he rested up for the Belmont?
Well, no, Sierra Leone's going to win the Belmont. I mean, that's
okay. All right.
Help us, but
it's interesting. I have Pete, I like this horse. I just not sure about the spot, and there's less speed now. I don't know. We're going to see. If Flavian is really good, and if you trust Brad Cox, and you might even get an okay price there, Pete. So, I mean,
I think he's going to get lost a little bit in the shuffle. I think because Mystic Dan's going to take the Derby money. Tuscan Gold, which one is which? I'm looking right at it. Tuscan Gold is buzzy kind of horse, and Imagination is the Baffert horse, and we know Baffert horses show up in the Preakness. So it wouldn't shock me if those 3 have lower odds than Catching Freedom does.
Paul, sir, you and I seem to agree a lot in these big 3-year-old races over the years with you've been on the show. And boy, I hope you're right. I like this horse a lot. Number 8, Tuscan Gold. And I know he's sort of the wise guy horse, but to be very honest with everyone at home watching, listening, replay, whatever, I've liked this horse for a while. I've talked about this horse a few times on the show. I thought his Louisiana Derby was absolutely outstanding. And of course, let's click on the replay. Oh no, we can't watch the replay. But Paul, this horse broke a little slow, which is a little concern to me. He doesn't break out of the gate fantastically. Broke a little bit slow, was wide on every turn. But the big thing to me that I liked a lot, everyone go back and watch that race, is Antiquarian came to his outside 4 wide on the far turn. And Gafflin was scrubbing and asking. It looked like Tuscan Gold was done. Paul, he re-rallied in between horses. He galloped out well. He never saw Catching Freedom and Anna Marie to his outside. And that was only his 3rd lifetime start. This horse, I know some in the chat said he's not as good as, like your early votings and your cloud computings from before with this, what the Chad has had. I disagree. I think this is a very talented runner. If he gets the trip, I think he can win, and I'm hoping to get 3-1. Paul, I know I just stole a lot of your thunder, but I do like this horse quite a bit in this race.
No, well, I picked the horse. We talked before the Derby. Chad was not happy with that ride in the Louisiana Derby and wasn't afraid to say so. Yet, here is Tyler right back. The horse has improved his buyers every race. Antiquarian, who you just mentioned, Howard, who was off the board in that race, came back to win the Peter Pan last weekend. Anna Marie was a buzz horse for the Derby. Didn't pan out that well,
and actually had the worst trip. I thought had the worst trip in the Derby. So I would play him coming back. I would play him coming back.
But I don't. We both could be right. This Tuscan Gold might not be as good as the Chad Preakness winners, but I'm not so sure you have to be in this race. Back to my points about why Brad's not afraid to wheel back on short rest. And I think the buzz horse, Howard, is going to become Imagination, because it's the quote other Baffert, the Baffert that's left. He's lone speed. Frankie's going to send him from out there. They're envisioning the National Treasure trip. So I think I certainly think you'll get your 3-1. Mystic Dan, I think the revised morning line is 8-5, so you're right on target there. And I just think he becomes the favorite by default in a kind of an open race. He's the Derby winner. You take Muth's PPs off the page, and why isn't he going to be the favorite?
Tuscan Gold breaks a little bit slow, Paul. What kind of trip do you see him getting? Because Imagination is the main speed to his outside, and I'll talk about that horse. We'll talk about that horse in a minute. If Tuscan Gold was outside of Imagination, I would be all in on Tuscan Gold. I would love Tuscan Gold. I'm a little concerned he might get pinched. I'm not saying Frankie's going to make a left turn and screw up the field. I'm not suggesting that, but I hate when the main speed is just outside of my horse that I'd like. If he breaks a little bit slow, I suppose he could just tuck in. If he breaks fine, I would still let Imagination go and just come around him, Paul, and sit on the outside. So I think Tuscan Gold's going to be okay. I would like to see him break better, be a little more professional. That's all.
Yeah, I think Imagination is going to be such a send, Howard, that I don't think it's going to matter that much. I think Imagination is gone, and after 5 strides, it's going to be like Tuscan Gold. It's in the outside post.
Okay. By the way, James, where have you been, buddy? James is new to the podcast. Very entertaining and informative. Let's give a good big welcome to James. James, thanks for joining the show. Get your friends together and start watching the show, and make sure you hit that subscribe button and the notification bell and all that. Imagination, Paul. You've got this horse second. Pete and I have this horse nowhere. I have a very, very strong opinion on Imagination, which is either going to be excellent or horrible come Saturday at about 7:03 Eastern Standard Time. What's your overall thoughts on Imagination, Paul, other than the obvious, which is he is lone or main speed on paper?
Yeah, I mean, I think he gets to the lead. He's got one of the best jockeys in the world, and he's going to take some running down. Now, would I be shocked if he goes first to fourth? No, but I do think that he's going to take, that I'm thinking of that National Treasure trip that we kind of thought was a fluke, but it turns out National Treasure was pretty good. Almost just a little too good last November.
It's pretty good.
So I think he gets the trip he wants from out there. We just talked about, and he's going to be on the lead. And it's only an 8-horse field. And if they put up those national treasure type fractions, I just think he's going to take some running down. I hope our guy is close.
Pete, I'll just say it how I feel. I don't like this horse at all. And you know what? I understand he's low in speed, and I might eat my words. I get it. I could be wrong. I just don't think he's that good. I really don't. His 96 in San Felipe, he barely went by Wind Me Up, who I don't think is very good at all for Baffert, really. He's been California speed over and over again. This is not California. I know it's Frankie. I know he's low in speed. I know it's Baffert. I just think if he gets pressed at all, he doesn't have a lot of fight. I don't think he wants to go this far, Pete. I just don't think he's anything special, and he's going to take a lot of money. I just don't like him.
I mostly agree with you. The problem is none of that matters sometimes when you have a Baffert speed horse.
True.
And it sucks because you sit there and you look at it sort of with some logic, and then logic goes out the window because he winds up getting on the lead and somehow shows fight and somehow re-breaks and kicks away and then he wins. But yeah, I'm going with you where if it's the hope is that a horse like Seize the Gray or Just Steel or maybe Tuscan Gold eventually sort of get on his neck at the top of the lane.
Gray is going to go. Apparently, according to Lucas, he's not going to like send hard, but he's going to be up in the vanguard pressing. I think
the key is to somebody go to him at the turn, and we don't want him kicking away by 2 and then having to get run down if he's cutting sort of soft fractions. So that's the concern, because whether you like him or not, it's not like Imagination's a bum. He's a quality horse. He's just not a great Baffert horse, but he's going to have the tactical advantage, and that's the pace advantage.
He's like he'd be like a nice Ohio Derby kind of winner. Like I don't, man. I don't. If Imagination wins, there's a lot of horses for me that just didn't run at all. And I'll tell you what, I take Just Steel at 12-1 over Imagination at 4 times less the price. Personally, I think Just
Steel will get a better trip. He's going to get a better trip than last time.
Pete and Paul, Just Steel's got a little bit of an oxbow in him. I am not going to let Just Steel beat me. I'm using him in the pick 5. His race 2 back against Muth was very good. So anyway, last horse let's talk about, and then we got to bring Jim Miller on. The Derby winner. What do you do with this horse? I was against him at first with Muth in. Now I like him a lot more for 2 reasons, guys. Number 1, he's the best inside speed. He's going to be on the rail again. I'd be shocked if he's not on the rail. I just don't see how Mystic Dan does not get a great trip here. The question is, can he replicate it, 2 weeks later, blah, blah, blah. Does he have to run a 100 buyer to win? I'm using Mystic Dan more than I originally was going to do in this race, guys, because I think he's going to sit a great trip. I don't know if he's going to be good enough 2 weeks later, but of all the horses in this race, other than Imagination, Mystic Dan figures to get the best trip of all of them, to me. Thoughts?
I agree. I mean, if you look at it, if you only care about buyers, and some people are very, very keen on the speed figures. Aside from Fierceness, he's the only horse in the crop that's got 100 buyers, if I remember correctly. He's got 2 of them. So when he runs well, and if he gets a good trip, and the trip wasn't great in the Arkansas Derby, it maybe wasn't as bad as some people made it out to be, but it wasn't his trip. It wasn't the trip that I think he wants, and he still ran respectively. So I think if he repeats either the Southwest or the Kentucky Derby, this isn't the greatest field in the world. If he can do that, I think he's got as good a shot as any to win it.
I really do. I just think he's going to get a great trip, Paul. And I don't like these horses coming back in 2 weeks. I don't think, I threw a stat out to Matt Miller. Guys, who's the last non-Baffert to win the Derby and the Preakness? And it was I'll Have Another in 2012. I don't know how good Mystic Dan really is. So I don't know. But I just think he's going to get a great trip. This is a weird race to me, guys. I just feel in general, if it's not Tuscan Gold, Paul, it could be several. And I'm including Just Steel in that mix. I really do. It's going to be fascinating. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to bring up our pick 5s. And you know what? As I bring up our pick 5s, I'm going to bring on Jim. Because Jim Miller, director of racing with Hawthorne, has been waiting very patiently. And we had a little bit of delay here. And I'm sure he has an opinion of the Preakness. So we'll do a little combo thing, guys. We'll just show our pick 5 and let Jim talk as we just have the pick 5 up on our screen, the pick 5 ticket. So Pete, there's your pick 5, and I'm going to bring on Jim Miller at the same time, director of racing at Hawthorne Racecourse. Let's bring on right now, Mr. Jim Miller. Jim, how you doing this evening?
Good, gentlemen. It's good to see you guys. Good to be out here in that. I love the hat there, Paul. That's awesome. So thank you for representing. Here's my thoughts on the Preakness. All right, half the field I'm eliminating because they're trying to come back in 2 weeks. So that means I'm eliminating Catching Freedom, Mystic Dan, Seize the Gray, and Just Steel.
There you go.
I don't think Magatu and Uncle Heavy are fast enough, so that leaves you with the 2 outside horses, Tuscan Gold and Imagination. So those are the 2 that I would sit there and box in this race, and that's it.
You know, Paul, we could have just spent 5 minutes.
Oh, look at that.
Oh, it's raining.
Hopefully we don't get that. Hopefully that doesn't happen.
There's thunderstorms by
that
you.
Was amazing.
Hopefully we don't get that. I didn't know it was going to do that, by the way. That does it when it feels like it, but
that was pretty cool.
That was a little rough for you, Jim. Sorry, I didn't mean to rain on you. Like that.
Literally raining on his parade. Literally. Pete's pick 5 for our audio listeners: 3, 4, 7, 9, 10, 12. With 5, 8, 10. With 1, 8, 10, 11, 12. With 10, he's singling Emmanuel. That is a strong single. With 3, 5, Catching Freedom, Mystic Dan. That is a $90 ticket. Paul's ticket, which is $112.50, and I spent more than $100 too, so it's all good. It's Preakness. 4, 10, 11. With 5. With 2, 9, 10, 11, 12. With 1, 5, 7, 9, 10. With 5, 8, 9. Mystic Dan, Imagination, and Tuscan Gold. That's $112.50. You are seeing corporate power, correct, Paul? The 5 and
correct.
2. Okay.
Yep.
And my pick 5 is 108. I'm going 1, 7, 12 with 8. I'm going with the other single in that race, Tuscan Sky, with 1, 2, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, that's the turf sprint. No surprise. I'm spreading there. With 5, 9, 12 in the turf. With 3, 5, 8. I'm throwing in 2 horses that did run 2 weeks ago. Jim, I could be wrong. We'll see. If I had more money, I'd throw in Just Steel. I like Just Steel more than Imagination from a value perspective. We'll see. Jim, who are your top 3? I'm sorry. So you've got Tuscan Gold, Imagination. Do you have a third choice for the Preakness?
I'll put Mystic Dan third just because he's the Derby champ, but I think the other 2 will be clear.
There you go. We have to go to, Jim, I want to, Paul, small apologies. Paul's got a major rant. Can you hold on for a second? We haven't heard his rant.
I love the rants. This is like my favorite
We love
part.
the rant. All right. Hold on. We got a graphic for it. Paul's licking his chops, ready to go. It is now time. It's been a bit of a hiatus. It is now time for Paul's rant of the week. Paul, I'm going to take us off the screen. The floor is yours.
All right, Howard, bear with me because I want you to pay attention because you were there. Keeneland, Saturday morning of the Grade 1 gamble. Tell me if this is a plausible scenario. We went to visit our favorite horse. We didn't get that close, but we got close enough. But is it reasonable that those grooms, they were really nice, that if we had really asked, it's reasonable to think that we could have even got closer? Would you agree with that?
Yes, I would agree with that. Yes, sir.
To the point maybe of even, giving them a little snuggle or whatever. It happens all the time.
I love schnuggles.
So fast forward, that happens, and a few months later you read that Chad Brown suspended and the horse is stripped of the Derby because the horse tested positive for metformin in his system. I take metformin, so that could happen. It's a pre-diabetes type drug. Okay, George Weaver just got suspended for 2 years for a horse called Anna's Wish, no relation to Cody's Wish, for having metformin in his system. Now look I'm not anti-Heiser. I know the game has to be cleaned up. Okay, 20 million people in the U.S., including me and including the groom of Anna's Wish, take metformin. So maybe, just maybe, there's a reason for that sample. Now, ultimately, Weaver is responsible for his horses that go to the gate. 2 years equals career over, okay? They gave him a few days. Any horse he had entered could run, no enter any more horses. He's got 75 horses around the country. George is spread out. George has raced for 22 years, former assistant to Pletcher. He's had 2 positive tests in 22 years, and they were both so serious they resulted in $300 fines. Okay. So as we're trying to clean this game up, that I acknowledge it does, can we just have a little goddamn common sense and not only not have people be guilty until proven innocent, not send them to the goddamn electric chair before being proven innocent? There's been several cases where guys have gotten a year and 2 years, and then a month later, Heisa says, "Oh, sorry, we were wrong." But, about those lawyer fees and those horses that, so again, do not take this. I am not anti-Heisa. In principle, I am pro-Heisa. But we better stop being worried about kowtowing to the goddamn Joe Drapes of the world who just want to kick the shit out of our game, and have a little balance as we try to clean this game up.
Wow. Jim, I probably, if I'm putting on the spot, Jim, just
no,
say,
ask away.
No comment. You're a director of racing of a major racetrack. Do you have any quick retorts or comments on what Paul said?
Paul's right on. And I have a lot of friends who are trainers, and my belief all along is I think you should have two things. First and foremost, you should have uniform medication rules, so no matter what jurisdiction you're going to, you know what the rules are. That's the first and foremost. Second, I think every single medication should have a threshold level where there's truly a determination as to what becomes performance enhancing and detrimental to the racehorse. To have zero tolerance, I think, is absolutely nuts. To bring in a lot of medications where there is no reflection of any type of performance enhancing or any type of detriment to the racehorse, I think is nuts too. So I think we're making steps in the right direction, but I think there's a whole lot more that needs to be done on this before you can kind of truly hand out some of the suspensions that we're looking at.
Do we know, we're going to get to Hawthorne in just a second. Do we know for sure if that's going to hold up, Paul?
He's got Drew Mollica, who's the go-to lawyer out of New York. And no, I suspect he's not going to end up suspended for 2 years, but it's not going to help him as he's right now trying to disperse his 75 horses to other trainers. And again, look at Howard. We never know about these guys. Jim spends a lot of time around the Hawthorne guys. I'm sure he has some feelings that we would never ask him to share about one guy versus another. Look, do I know George Weaver? Well, no. Do I spend a lot of time around his barn? No. Am I a regular pass by? If you had to put a gun to my head and tell me, hey, is he one of the cheaters? My answer would be no. Now, again, someone says, well, Paul, that's not very scientific. I understand that. But, I would have had a different answer if you asked about George Navarro 5 years ago. So, again, I just think even if it is the case, I just think the punishment's got to fit the crime. But before the punishment has to fit the crime, the process has to be better than you're guilty, prove you're innocent, and until you do, you are out of business. George Weaver is out of business right now. Out of business.
Well,
I don't see that.
Yeah, Paul, we appreciate your thoughts. They're always cogent and to the point, and we really appreciate your passion, your honesty, and frankly, you're right 99% of the time with these rants. So we greatly appreciate that 1%. Pete, we're still trying to find underneath the desk or something. But anyway.
By the way, before I forget, we should mention. Can we congratulate our leader for qualifying for the BCBC last weekend?
Yeah,
absolutely, Howard. That's tremendous. That's
$112, guys. Two entries into a $56 qualifier to get to the qualifier. Didn't spend any more than $112 and just got lucky and won the whole thing.
Good job, man.
Thanks, Paul.
Pressure's on now. Pressure's on.
Yeah, for people that don't know, that's a $10,000 seat. And as Jim knows, because we're going to talk about it in a minute, there's more contests coming up where I plan on at least trying to make some noise, but the competition is going to be very fierce. Pete and Paul, we're going to let you go because Jim and I need to talk about Hawthorne. We appreciate it, guys. Good luck the Preakness this weekend. Take care.
Hey, one thing real quick before I go.
Yep.
My anniversary is tomorrow, 16 years. If my wife is watching the end of this show, Tomorrow's our anniversary. Somebody in the comments, actually, David, I forget whose last name, I apologize, said that and said Pete got married on Preakness. His anniversary should be coming up. So that is super impressive memory by somebody in the chat. So I did get married on Preakness 16
Pete,
years
buy her
ago.
some black-eyed Susan, splurge.
You know what we're going? You know what I'm buying her? I said, look, we're going out tomorrow. We're going down to Annapolis, Paul. We're getting a hotel. We're going to a nice dinner. We'll get drunk, and then I said we got to be back for the races on Saturday. So
that's fair.
That sounds right to me.
Sounds like a good plan. Happy anniversary, Pete.
Thank you.
All right. See you, Jim.
Pete and Paul, take care, guys. Have a good night.
Jim.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, whoa, what happened? We took Jim off. That wasn't me. All right, Jim. I appreciate your comments too, and I'm sorry for the delays tonight. Let's rock and roll. We got a lot of things to talk about Hawthorne. First of all, let's talk about this on the screen. Hawthorne contest, June 29th, June 30th. It's always great. I'm going to try to make this a little bit bigger so people can not only hear what you're saying, but read on the screen. Go ahead.
Well, and the cool thing about our contest, Howard, no entry fee for any of our contests, which is the most important thing. And when you see the $500 bankroll, that's money that you keep. So whatever you make, you keep. So even if you don't win the contest and you have a good day, you're going to keep some money there. But again, NHC seats, Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge seats. There's you on the screen right there,
that's
too.
That's a sharp-looking guy right there. Wow.
That's the thing. Look at that. But it's
the
cool.
guy on the right, the guy on the left. I've never seen him or heard him before.
He needs to shave, so don't worry about him. But the thing about our contest too that I like, it's an open format. That's the thing that's fun. And these contests are any racetrack that you want. So if you focus on, say, California or New York or Kentucky or Florida or Hawthorne, whichever it is, you can play those tracks, or you can play amongst different racetracks. So it's not Hawthorne only. That's one of the benefits of these contests for these qualifiers. A lot of people do very well in them. We've seen $500 turned into $5,000, and even with some people that are in the chat right now. So that's one of the things that's really cool. But it's a fun contest, and you can play it at a lot of locations.
If you are, I don't care where you live in the country, it is absolutely worth flying in if you have to take if you're further away for this contest for all the reasons that Jim said. We have people coming in from the East Coast, from California. I've seen them personally. I know who's coming in for these contests. It's a great time. The Hawthorne OTBs, ladies and gentlemen, are fantastic. I'm not just saying that because Jim is on the screen. They take care of you. They're good people. The food is excellent. There's just a lot of reasons to come in and try to qualify. So why not do that? Hawthorne contest again, June 29th and the 30th. And of course, also on the 30th, thank you, Jim, and to everyone with Hawthorne for inviting me to the Invitational along with Matt Miller, which is invite only on the 30th. It's going to be fantastic. Looking forward to that as well. Last year, my brother got married on that weekend, and I couldn't be there, but I will be there that weekend this time. So excited about that. Yep. Current meet. Let's talk about the leaders also real quick. Current meet leaders. Again, you can find all this information on the fantastic Hawthorne website. I'll make this a little bit bigger. You want to quickly talk about, there's our jockey update right now.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Orlando Mojica's had himself a really good meet. He's picking up a lot of that business now for trainer Larry Ravelli with Jareth Ludbury heading off to Kentucky, winning at a high percentage, riding well, very smart rider. Alexis Centeno is a guy who's had a good meet as well. And there was a little rumor as to whether or not he was going to leave and go to Prairie Meadows with Jan Arnett and his string at Iowa. But no, he's decided to stay at Hawthorne. I think that's a very good move, especially with some more horses that have shipped in over the course of the last couple of weeks. Then I'll tell you, Julio Felix has had himself a really good meet too. And he kind of struggled at the start of the year at Turfway Park. And it was more just picking up business from guys that rode a whole lot in Kentucky. But he's riding very well. Smart rider too. Very good pace rider.
And the trainer stats, of course, the guy we all know very well, Larry Ravelli on top. But Eduardo Rodriguez has had very good meet so far. Michelle Boyce has not run as many, but now with turf racing, she's going to be running more. You already mentioned John Arnett and, of course, Block Campbell, etc.
Yeah, and Chris Block's another guy that you're going to see a whole lot of horses when they come onto the turf. So that's one of the things that you want to look at there. Ravelli's got horses at all levels. He spots them very well. He reads the condition book very well. It's a great job. And then Eduardo Rodriguez, this is a guy who had a really good meet down at the fairgrounds. He has a lot of horses. He's not afraid to run two in a race, but another guy that spots him really well. He's had a very strong meet. Yes, it's 10 for 54 in the win column, which isn't bad, but another 18 times second or third.
He's very good, and you have to pay attention to these trends at Hawthorne, because the trends can be your friend. Speaking
Yep.
of friendly horses and wagering, let's get into the late pick 4 on Saturday. Jim, I am proud to have said I'm being a good student, even though I'm a teacher. Both the Saturday and Sunday late pick 4 analysis already up, Jim, from written by myself on the website, so people can check that out. Again, they're both great sequences. We're going to focus on the Saturday pick 4 very quickly, and I'm going to show the entries using the Hawthorne website instead of Equibase. Let's get right to it. It's a little bit hard to see, but I'll scroll down. Race actually starts with race. It does start with race
5.
4, right? No, race
Race
5. I'm
5.
sorry.
Yep.
Race 5. Race 5. This is the start of the Saturday late pick 4. They're going 6 furlongs, maiden special weight. It is a field of 8, and the morning favors the number 3, Miss Mikos. These are Illinois breds, if I remember correctly. Yes. Yep. Illinois breds. Miss Mikos is 9-5. Let me go and bring up the banners so people can see who we have. Just start the late pick 5. We are both going to 3. You're going 3-7-1. I'm going 3-5-6. Jim, what do you like about Miss Mikos to start the late pick 4?
Here's the first and foremost thing. Marcelino Pedroso Jr. is coming in to ride Hugh Robertson on this card on Saturday, and he's doing it because Robertson has some live horses in the mix. What's interesting is he doesn't ride the Robertson runner when we get to the final race on the card, but he rides some earlier on in the day. He rode this horse in New Orleans in the last out. That was a number. That Beyer speed figure of 70 is a standout amongst anybody in this field. And both of the starts were against open company. Now you run against Illinois breds. This is going to be a much easier bunch. I like this horse quite a bit in the spot. I think it's going to be very tough to beat.
The first time starter for Hugh, Dream Nap, who's out of 3-hour nap, which is a nice horse. Thoughts on Cohen versus Pedrosa riding for Robertson, Jim?
No knocks on David Cohen at all. This is a guy who's ridden very well since coming over to the Hawthorne circuit. Finishes well. I'd say he's probably our second or third best rider that's in the room right now. So I wouldn't knock him by any means. And again, just comes down to the horse with a little bit of experience over that first time starter. Both the horses, though, I could see being in the mix.
If Miss Mikos runs back to that Fairgrounds race, she's going to be very tough. And I'd say an open 30 at Fairgrounds is on par, if not even maybe slightly more difficult than Illinois breds at this point of the breeding situation here in Illinois.
Yeah. I mean, definitely when you're running open company in New Orleans, I mean, you're having some Florida breds, you're having a lot of Kentucky breds, Louisiana breds as well there. So coming over here to just the straight Illinois restricted races, I think this is probably actually a little bit easier race than what the horse is coming out of.
I would agree. Next race, leg 2 on the turf. And again, turf racing's back in Chicago. I think the weather's going to be good this weekend. Last time I checked, I'm sure Jim will talk about that. And for people that don't know, Jim, as the director of racing, also walks the turf course and helps or makes the final decision, I suppose, as to if they're going to be running on the turf or not. Hopefully this will be on turf. 5 furlongs, allowance race. Field of 8. Morning favorite is the number 2 code name for Patty Miller and Orlando Mojica. It's a very wide open board with the morning lines that you've created. Let's go ahead and show our picks on the screen. Jim is going 6-4-1. I'm going 1-2-4. What do you like about the number 6? What do you think, Mark? 9-2.
Here's Larry Ravelli, Turf Sprinters, Lasix for the first time. They thought a whole lot of this horse after the debut, because when this horse debuted last July at Canterbury, that was a big race for that first start out. You see a 15-length win. It's hard, Howard, to win by 15 lengths when you're going just 4.5 furlongs. And this horse did it and didn't have any problem. They came back in the Prairie Meadows freshman, and the horse bled in that race there. So that was the thing. 1-2 favorite in there, showed speed early on, bled, and then just backed out of it. So they took the time out of that race to give the horse some time off, give the horse some time to mature, and look at the way this horse has been working. You have a 47 from the gate back on April the 14th. Then you come with a 59.3 from the gate on May the 12th. This horse is going to show some speed, should be able to get away in good order. And in turf sprints at Hawthorne, because it's the tighter turns, longer lane, you actually want to be a little bit further on the outside to angle into the turn. But I think this horse should get a tremendous trip. Even if Codename goes, I think, what do you think, Mark? Just kind of lays right on the outside of that one, kind of stalks and then pounces and just takes over late.
I was surprised to see this formulator early pace situation because they don't have the 6 on the lead. look, the 6 can obviously win. This might be one of my worst top 3s I've ever given on the show if the 6 just runs away with the Jim. But the 6 feels like an all or nothing here. I
Yeah.
don't I don't like the long layoff. I know Ravelli's great off the layoffs, but obviously something went amiss, right? I mean, otherwise
Well,
that wouldn't be in that spot. I know he was a 2-year-old then, but there's just questions, and he's going to be. I respect your morning line. He's going to be. Let's face it. He's going to be 2-1 in this spot probably. I
well,
don't.
and that's what we're going to have to wait and see, because here's the thing too. And again, just going back to Paul's rant, you have to talk about the Heiser rules, because as a 2-year-old, you're not allowed to run on Lasix. So if the whole goal was turf, and you have to wait to be a 3-year-old to get onto Lasix, then that could be part of the whole reasoning here with what do you think, Mark? So that's something to look to. Here's the thing about it. When I was looking at the line, yeah, you had that huge first start. Not a great second start, but when you look to the inside 2 horses, Codename's a horse that is pretty much proven on the turf. This is a horse that was running in the grass sprints at Laurel, put together those races. You see a 79, 75, 79. The last 2 races at Turfway, all solid figures. So you have to respect this horse. And then your top pick in here is Simple Logic. Here's the thing. Just 1 lifetime victory on the grass, 8 runner-up efforts, but again, look at it. A lot of numbers that are kind of in the 70s there. Numbers that figure, again, for a barn that runs very well on the turf. So I do think those inside 2 will take some money. So I'll be curious to see what kind of price. What do you think Mark goes off at?
I don't love 2 for 28. And the Simple Logic has 10 seconds. I get it. I just felt like between the 2, 6, and 7, there's going to be a lot of hitting up front, Jim. And I know it's 5 furlongs on the turf, but Simple Logic has closed in turf sprints before. And pun intended, just seems logical to me. I realize things have to go his way, but I think there's a chance this thing might fall apart. But if it doesn't, certainly your choice can obviously win. And I think the 2 is also live. It's gonna be a fun race. I'm really excited.
Yeah, scroll to the 4 horse quick. Twirling Roses. Sure. I think if the race falls apart, that's the horse that sets up for. Maybe get back to those races at New Orleans, going 5.5 at the fairgrounds there. Both of those very similar trips. Just kind of settled back early on, rallied late. So if the pace does go out there and contends, maybe it falls apart and falls into the hands of Twirling Roses at a bit of a price.
It's going to be a fun race. Weather, I think, is supposed to be fine here in Chicago this weekend, yes?
Yeah, it should be. I mean, we'll wait and walk the turf course again on Saturday. They did get some rain at Hawthorne today, so we'll see what happens with those passing showers, but they did have some rain today.
Okay. Let's go on to race 7. Mile and 70 yards, 2 turns, of course. Main claimers. Got a field of 9. The morning line favorite is the number 6, Skylane, for Joel Campbell and Olaf Hernandez. Let's go with our picks are on the screen. Jim's going 5, 6, 3. I'm going 4, 6, 7. I found this, Jim, to be a very tricky race as we show our pick 4 ticket later on. But you're going to go with the 5, Prince Is My Boy, 9-2 for Cody Rosine and Julio Felix.
This race, I think, is just much easier than the races that Prince Is My Boy is coming out of over at Oaklawn Park. We know how competitive those races are. I hate the 1-turn short stretch races. And when you're a horse that's trying to close from out of the mix, those last 2 races make it a little bit tough. But those were improved efforts. But here's the thing. It was slop, slop, slop. Then finally a fast track with a short stretch race. So here's the thing. You're going to get a fast track, which is going to be beneficial. And you're going to get the full run of the stretch. I think those 2 things line up for a much improved effort out of Prince Is My Boy. I like this horse actually a lot in this race. I think Skylane has been very consistent. The only reason I didn't put Skylane on top is the last 2 starts, they were looking for turf, and then the races were taken off the turf, and they still stayed in. So that's the thing. I just tend to wonder if truly they're intended for the grass, and this is just kind of the spot they fell into more than anything else.
Do you have any, and I as a host, I shouldn't ask this question, Jim, but I'll put you on the spot. Do we have stats on how Oaklawn horses have been doing at Hawthorne this meet so far, or just your general thoughts or reaction to that question?
Generally, they've been running very well, and we've seen actually a lot of horses who have faced tougher competition with horrible running lines that have come over to Hawthorne and run well. One of them off top of my head is a horse by the name of Baba's Boy. This was a horse that was like 9th beaten 20, 10th beaten 30, and all of a sudden the horse comes over to Hawthorne and goes off at like 3-1 and almost wires the field. But you're going to see that just because things are so tough at Oaklawn, because the purses are so big and people will plunge in, not worrying if they're going to get claimed or not. So horsemen that ran their horses at the right level probably got beat up a little bit there at Oaklawn Park, and they're going to come over and find it much easier here.
I'm chuckling because there's a horse. I think the horse name is Resolution. I don't know if it's running Saturday and Sunday. He was like 10-1 mooring line from the rail that looks awful, but he or she is coming from Oaklawn. I have that
Right.
horse as my top pick. I can't recall if it's Saturday or Sunday, but just remember that the one horse I've run at home, Resolution, this weekend at Hawthorne, sort of fits that profile exactly, Jim. Alvin, I don't know what happened last time at all, Jim, but look, you go back, 2, 3, 4 back, this horse fits. He's got tactical speed. Maybe he just needed one over the surface, or maybe just didn't settle in well. I'm not really sure. I like the fact he has a local work since the last. It's Mojica. This is not the best field, and there's Eduardo Rodriguez again. So I'm taking a stab here with Alvin. It's not my strongest opinion, but I'd rather have a horse that's more forward here, Jim, in this race.
And the thing about Alvin, if you go back to that last race, the second place finisher, Ice Axe, came back and won actually pretty impressively in his next start out. Sharpstick actually was entered on the Saturday card, scratched out of the Saturday card for an allowance race on Sunday. So you're coming out of a race here where maybe you had some decent racehorses that came out of there for that level.
Yep.
So I think this is a horse that definitely can step up as well.
Well, you look at these buyers. I mean, any of these horses above Alvin would win this race that we're talking about right now by 5. I mean, so again, I agree with you. I think that was a pretty tough race for the level, and I'm not sure this one is at all. Let's go on to the penultimate race of the late pick 4. Actually, it's the final race. I'm sorry.
Final race. Yep.
Finally, my bad. Race 8. Fun race again. Mile. Let me make this a little bigger so people can see better. Mile turf race for, of course, the maidens. It is a field of, wow, there's an AEs though, right? Field of 12.
12.
Right? The last two are they MTOs or AEs? I can't remember. It doesn't.
So the last two, so you're looking, Mining Camp is an MTO. Yeah, they're both MTOs.
Okay, it doesn't say on the screen. Okay, MTO. So field of 12, it holds together. With the Moorline favorite is the number 10 Last Run for James and
Gerald
Giles.
Yep.
And let's see who we're going with here. That's who you're going with. You're going 10, 3, 12, and I am going 6, 2, 11. Again, Jim, that's what the beauty of Hawthorne race course and these turf courses. An excellent handicap like yourself and some schmo like me, and we have 6 horses in our picks, and they're all completely different. Talk about last run to possibly win the last race at Hawthorne on Saturday.
Yeah, and then after this race, let's get to Jeffrey's comment because it's going to reference a horse that's actually in this pick 4. So we'll get to that in a second. All right, this race, when you see my pick 4 ticket, you'll understand. Okay. This race is impossible. Here's the thing. Gerald James, he's new to Hawthorne. He's just come in with horses. You see, he's just 1 for 30 on the year. He was running at Tampa. He actually has some pretty solid racehorses. He had a horse that ran in a grade 2 at Oaklawn throughout the course of the spring. He's got some horses that are fit and ready to run. I like the consistency for this horse on the grass. Should have a running style that puts it in the mix. There's a little bit of pace, but not a ton of pace in this race. I think he gets a good stalking trip. Emmanuel Giles has actually had himself a pretty decent meet. He's been riding pretty well. And I'm just kind of looking at the fact that you have even the wind on the outside, who will take a little bit of action there. Some horses on the inside. I think Spinning Heart's a little bit intriguing from the 3-hole in this spot as well. But this is a really tough race. And yeah, you'll see when you get to my pick 4 just how tough I thought it was.
And there's another interloper, this one coming from Fairgrounds, the number 3, Spinning Heart. Quick thoughts, last run pretty much coming straight here. No works over the track. How do you obviously you guys do a great job at Hawthorne. Horses can acclimate without a problem. I always prefer horses shipping a little bit early and at least working over the track. I'm assuming this one is jogged over the track though.
He has jogged. Yeah, he's jogged over the track. All the Gerald James horses have been on the grounds for about 10 days. So they've been able to get acclimated. They've been able to get settled into their barn and all that kind of stuff. And you're going to see a lot of Gerald James runners over the course of this weekend too.
Revisit the Dog. I don't think we've seen your name too often. Hit the all button on a few I see. What's up, Revisit the Dog? I appreciate it. All button. What a thought. Maybe Jim's got the same idea.
I love the
Jim,
all button.
What was the comment you wanted to bring up? I'm sorry. Who was
all right, so go up to, where was it at? Jeffrey Amster's comment. Where he starts with Matt, for those who haven't seen it.
Oh, yep. Go ahead. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Here we go.
Okay. Ahead. So here's the thing about it.
Let's bring this on full screen so we can see it better. Go ahead.
So if we can, reference back to your top selection in race number 6, Howard, because that was the horse that won the contest or Eddie because Simple Logic didn't win. If you go back to last June the 25th of 23, race 7 at Hawthorne, the final race of the contest, Simple Logic was the 6-5 favorite in there. There was a horse by the name of Command Central that won at 85-1 on the front end that Eddie had in that spot. And he told us the second he walked in to the contest that day, and you got to scroll back, it's June the 25th, that race on June the 25th there. Eddie told us when he walked in that day, I like one horse. And Command Central was the horse that Eddie liked. And he said, this horse can get the lead. This horse can steal the race. Simple Logic's a horse that loves to run second.
Yeah.
And that's what happened. Eddie had this horse, had the exacta. He was going absolutely nuts. But go on our Hawthorne's YouTube channel, find it. You catch Eddie. He drops a few choice words that I would have dropped as well, too, if I was going to have a score like that. But he was all over this racehorse that day. So it's just funny to see that up there. Knowing that Simple Logic is a horse that loves to run second that we're talking about for this pick 4 sequence.
Kyle was there. Kyle Roscoe, co-host or host of Bet and Boozin'. Oh boy, we remember that all too well for people that were there. I remember seeing that. It was pretty crazy. Let's get back to the last race. Let me pressing all these buttons, Jim. Do you need a producer? I think I can do both. What the hell are we talking about? Are you like the 10?
Yep.
You mentioned the 3. Let me talk about my topic here. I like Interlude quite a bit, especially at the price here, Jim. And I think your morning line is very accurate. If you haven't figured this out already, Jim, we've known each other quite a while now.
Yep.
I really like progressive horses that are unproven that can move up in their buyer figs. It's like the stock market, right? We're not trying to figure out who was best before the race. We're trying to figure out who's going to be best on the day. Louis Russell, I have a ton of respect for. I think he's got 2 in here, if I recall. This is the one that's least experienced. Centeno is on. He's going to have to improve several buyer's points. I don't see why he can't. This is a newly turned 3-year-old, not newly, but a debuting 3-year-old by Mendelssohn out of a Broken Vow mare. Cost $70,000. I mean, he ran 2 seconds last year. I'm not sure what happened in the fairgrounds race. Maybe he just didn't like the fairgrounds. But St. Armand's Key, who won, is a pretty nice horse. I'm expecting major improvement, and with a field that's completely wide open, I say why not?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing about it. The fairgrounds race too, with 14 horses in there, he kind of got bottled up in the back of the pack and just never really got into the mix. So that's the one thing for Interlude. I'm expecting that you're going to see a little bit better trip here too. And if we are on the turf, the course is going to be less than firm. I think that flatters his race on September the 8th as well over a good course at Horseshoe Indianapolis. So wouldn't surprise me at all if that horse steps up by any means.
Can we quickly talk about Ravenstown, then we'll wrap up the show, Jim? This is a horse that's been all over the place, right? It was entered in the Illinois Derby scratch, was entered another race last week that was taken off the turf, correct? And it was a 5-furlong race, if I recall, that was taken. Now he stretches out again. I think the horse is talented. I have him second, but I honestly have no idea what to expect. You don't have him anywhere. I hear Larry Valley's going to be knocking on your door. A little upset about that, Jim.
I don't have to worry about Larry. Larry's probably happy that I'm not picking him because maybe he'll get a little bit better price too. But here's the thing about it. I know Larry wants to run this horse on the turf. He said that last week when he had 2 horses entered. When the races came off the turf, his other horse that was entered stayed in, and this one scratched out. So he's just waiting, looking for a turf spot. You see the OBS $300,000 purchase for this horse. They think a whole lot of Ravenstown, and they're just trying to spot him and see if maybe he steps up on the turf and becomes a really good racehorse on the grass.
Your pick 4, Jim, for
yes,
Saturday. There it is. Oh, there it is. The favorite 3-letter word that so many people love. He's going 3 with 4-6 with 5-6 with the all ball. $24. Again, Jim, it's a fun type of bet to make because if you're right early, you just have that all button, and there's so many wonderful, you see the payouts, you just find the largest one, right? You're like, ooh, I'm alive to whatever. It's fun to have the all ball in a last race of a horizontal. Of course, you got to get there.
Well, and the cool thing about this ticket is I'm very confident about Miss Mikos in the first leg. In the second leg, I'm trying to defeat Simple Logic, who will take money, and Codename, who will take money. So it's Twirling Roses for me, and what do you think, Mark, in there? Both horses that I think could be decent prices. it's very similar for that third leg. Skylane is the morning line favorite, but you have Alvin in there. I tried to defeat that horse and then went to Prince is my boy. It's anybody can win the last. So if anybody can win the last and I can get to that point for a ticket, that's a reasonable cost for this ticket of $24. I'm going to take my shot. If you're alive to that, no matter who wins the last, you're going to get probably 3 times your money, at least, if not more, for that $24 investment.
It's a great race to hit the all button because you can absolutely get a price. My ticket is, I might spend a little more money because I think it's difficult. Now, I do want to say, and people can see this on the website, Jim, in the early pick 4, I am singling the 3, which is the first leg of the late pick 4. So I do like the 3 the most, but in the late pick 4, I'm spreading. I'm going 3, 5, 6, 7 with 1, 2, 4 with 3, 4, 6, 7, 9 with 2, 6. I don't know how good the Ravelli is. We're going to find out. I'm interested in interlude. You either go, 2 or 3 deep, or you got to hit the all button. I just decided to go skinny. I don't know if that strategy is going to work for myself, Jim. Any final thoughts? We got a stake race on Sunday, the third chance, if I recall, right? Nice stake with Orfev running, Ouvre, right? It's Ouvre. Ouvre?
Yep, at 128 pounds.
I saw that. Wow. I mean, it's crazy. Ouvre has won over $800,000. A really nice Illinois bred. And Jim, I snuck a peek at your picks for Sunday in that race. You and I, my friend, have the same cheeky opinion. We're both not going with Ouvre in that race. People just have to go on the website to see who we like in the stake race Sunday. How's that for a teaser?
And the one thing that I want to say, one thing that we really do at Hawthorne is we really try to stack those Sunday cards because everybody else stacks Saturday cards. And with having the Preakness, that's where the focus is going to be. And it's a good card Saturday, but it's a really good card on Sunday. The late pick 4 sequence is excellent. It's supposed to be a gorgeous weekend. We're going to be on the turf on Sunday as well, too. So with everything just lining up, that should be a very good day of racing. So check out Saturday, but definitely check out the Sunday card, too.
And check out the Hawthorne contest. If you're from out of town, book that flight now, book that train, get in the car, whatever you got to do. June 29th and 30th, great contest. Jim, we're going to wrap it up. We'll leave you on the screen here. We really appreciate it. And Hawthorne's going to be a lot of fun this weekend. For my good friend Jim Miller, Pete Visco, Paul Halloran, this has been your host, Howard Kravitz, episode 351 of Picks and Ponies. Crush your bets in Baltimore for the Preakness and in Cicero, Illinois at Hawthorne Racecourse. Take care, everyone. Have a great night. Bye-bye.
If you have not followed his Triple H horse racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.